Ladies and gentlemen, this is Preach Jacobs with a special episode of the Preach Jacobs podcast, sponsored by Soul House Gallery in the home of Koger Center for the Arts. Make sure you go to kogercenterforthearts.com for any of our great events. We have exhibit in there right now that is a ColaCon inspired exhibit, this is why we have a special visual edition of the podcast today. Speaking of ColaCon, we announced at one of our events in October that we're going to bring ColaCon back. For those that don't know, ColaCon was a hip-hop comic convention that we started in 2011 with the Museum of Art, and we had everyone from Ghostface Killer, Phife from A Tribe Called Quest, Talib Kweli, Ninth Wonder, Pete Rock, etc., etc. We are bringing it back, and we thought the best way to try to bring this back is two ways. We speak to my homie and one of the best people in the comic industry, Sanford Greene. And on top of that, we thought it'd be great to have the community put their hands in their pot to try to help us out to make this happen with a GoFundMe. So this is going to be part GoFundMe video, part interview. Thank you to our sponsors. It's Told by Podcasts for doing all these lovely visuals and making me look okay right now. I put some lotion on my hands. I feel great. So without further ado, I want to bring in comic book illustrator, the co-creator of the two-time or three-time Eisner winner. What is it? Three guys?
I lost count.
All right.
I'm joking.
Eisner winner for Bitterroot that is going to be made into a movie that's going to be produced by Ryan Coogler, directed by Oscar winner Regina King. You've seen his work in the Spider-Verse movie. You've also seen his work if you follow hip-hop. We're going to talk a little bit about this. The Mass Appeal rollout with all of these hip hop acts being superheroes. If you've seen those comics, if you were at New York Comic Con, this man did all the work. Yada, yada, yada. Sanford Greene, what's going on, man?
Thank you for having me, man.
Thank you for coming, man. I know you've been very, 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 very busy.
Yeah.
First things first, I think when I started ColaCon, this was like 2011, and the idea was the connection of hip hop and comics, which to me, and I guess to you, I thought it was a simple thing to put hip hop and comics together because I felt like hip hop culture and comic book culture felt similar, right? Because comic book culture is colorful, is vibrant. Hip hop culture, you have graffiti, you have all these things, and you want to be like the dopest on the planet and show how fly you are. You know, Wu-Tang Clan members sound like comic book characters. One literally is named after a comic book character with Ghostface calling himself Iron Man.
Sure.
Do you think the industry needed to catch up to that concept when you first got started? Like when you had your hip hop flair, when you first got started in the industry, did you think that was something that the industry wasn't ready for, or did you see it coming?
A little bit of both. Did not think that my sensibilities artistically at the time was viable for where the industry was. So yes, the industry had to really tap in or at least adapt to that genre, the hip hop genre. At the same time, I knew that there was a great opportunity there simply because to your point, you know, the music that we were listening to at the time, the Wu-Tangs, and so on and so forth. They use comic and animation personas. They wanted to be, or they used lyrics and they created visuals that all kind of depicted or from a foundation from a comic storytelling standpoint. And of course, you know, with Wu-Tang, they were not only into comics, they were into cinema, Hong Kong cinema, and so on and so forth. But that still was kind of evolving around the medium, the comic book medium. And of course, graffiti had a lot of influence early on for me. And I wanted to put or implement a lot of that artistic aesthetic into what I did professionally. To your point, they weren't really ready for that industry. It was very straightforward, very button up, at the time, and but it quickly changed. Well, not quickly, but the transition kind of
Was there
happened.
like a moment like that you could see the shift?
Honestly, it had nothing to do with the comic industry. It had to do with culture, pop culture in general.
Mm,
You started seeing, again, groups like Wu-Tang. They would mention, certain characters, the Tony Starks, aka Iron Man.
mm-hmm.
You'll see. Even I remember there was a Sprite commercial
Mm.
that featured Goody Mob,
Was it Fat Joe?
Fat Joe, Common,
Yeah, Nas was on one, I think.
and they formed Voltron.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, they finally starting to see the value of these two mediums and how they could really come together, because they both come from, again, fantastical storytelling. Hip hop is about telling your story, although it may be from a street perspective. Originally, there still was this fantastical element in it, even to the point to where you go back to I think it was Grandmaster Flash and Furious 5, Nucleus, those different groups, African Bambaataa. Their covers, their album covers were done, illustrated by comic book illustrators.
Or yeah, the guy that did
Bob Camp.
Is that the guy that did the EPMD cover too?
No, that's not him. That was later on. Bill Sienkiewicz is a good friend. He illustrated the.
He did a Nas cover too. He did EPMD. Was it Business as Usual?
It wasn't the Nas cover. He did the EPMD Business as Usual. I think it's the one where they were like escaping from with the helicopter and the dogs.
Yeah.
Like a manhunt kind of illustration. I begged him for that
for the original.
Yeah, I said I'll pay whatever. He had already given it to Parrish Smith.
Okay, I guess that's okay. Yeah,
I guess he can have it. He also illustrated, or Dennis Cowan illustrated Liquid Swords.
Wow.
So you're talking about another legendary illustrator, comic illustrator, who actually was one of the founding fathers of Milestone Media, which is the company that created Static Shock. And a few other characters, Icon and Blood Syndicate, I think is the name of the other popular. Hardware was another one, but Static obviously being the biggest, property that they created. But yeah, these guys were all in the industry, the comic industry, and they kind of transitioned over. It was a natural progression doing illustration work for hip hop groups, R&B as well, but definitely hip hop was the foundation.
I wrote about something recently that I thought was really interesting, where I think hip hop has entered this stage of being able to age with the culture, right? And I think that hip hop is. I know Ninth Wonder has called it adult contemporary rap. I call it boomer bap. Right. Where, but years and years ago, I think that when people thought about hip hop culture, they thought that it was like a young man's sport and you can't be in your 40s making the music. But like all the albums that I love, the De La album, everyone is in their 50s, the Clips record, and Primo might be almost 60. Yeah. But I also think that comic book culture has done the same thing, where you can be someone older, embrace comic book culture, and it's not seeing anything really, really crazy. The Legends, was it called the Legend series with Mass Appeal?
Legend has it.
Legend has it with Mass Appeal.
Yeah.
So I think it was really, really brilliant how there is this need for an audience to embrace these. I don't want to call them legacy acts, but I guess they're legacy acts. So like there's a project where, Mass Appeal with Nas at the helm. He has an album with Big L, Slick Rick, Raekwon, Mobb Deep, De La Soul, Nas and Primo album. I might be forgetting a few.
Well, yeah, he helped curate the whole rollout. Him and I forget his partner over at Mass Appeal, Peter. oh, he's going to kill me because he's the one that's writing
We'll
the
do
text.
like a voice of a Peter.
Yeah, yeah,
A little
yeah.
bit later.
But yeah, he Nas, along with his business partner at Mass Appeal, they've done a phenomenal job of just the rollout.
Well, how did that happen? How did that conversation start?
Hey, you want to do a comic book?
The Nas call, yo, what up, Sanford Greene?
Dude, if he called me, I don't know. I'll still be sitting there with tears in my eyes from crying from joy. I got to share a story about that one too,
All right.
about when I first met him. But no, it wasn't him. It was actually Marvel, because they partnered with Marvel to do this project. So Marvel was the liaison with the rollout, and so they did the whole introduction, and we met up. Funny, we met up in San Diego. We had a meeting. We had a lunch meeting. They said, we have this idea. Do you think you can have it done by New York Comic Con, which is like 3 months? And I'm like, no, I can't do the book, because they wanted me to do the actual whole entire book.
Wow,
So
okay.
I guess that's kind of the one thing that was kind of what's the word? Kind of a misinformation. Like I did the entire, like I wrote and illustrated the entire thing. I created the universe in a world.
That's what I'm saying. So here's my question: how does that work for people that don't know? Is it sort of like, like if I'm watching a show, I'm watching the morning show, and you have like the main director and creator. They'll be like, all right, we're going to do the pilot episode, but then every episode you see there's a different director behind it, right?
Yeah, it's sort of like that. Not really. I mean, technically, it usually is the person that's kind of creating and designing. They're the one that's drawing and illustrating every page.
But they look at your
my blueprint, my design Bible, if you want to call it. That's what I created. I created the look. I created the character designs and the basic premise of everything. So they took that, gave it to two other artists to kind of, expand on what I, pretty much laid out. Again, it was only because of time. I just couldn't commit to doing that. Plus,
shout out to telling Marvel, nah, son.
Yeah, pretty much. I said, I can't. I'm at the place now, career wise, where it really is about the quality of it. I could have said, okay, sure, and I probably wouldn't be here right now. I would still be under my bed somewhere crying, because it's just I've done enough of that type of work where the turnarounds were insane. It darn near broke me. The quality of life is diminished over that period of time. So I wanted to make sure that I did a service to not only Marvel, because I could have said yes, but then that would have been a disservice to them too, because the work probably wouldn't have been ready.
Yeah, not
really, or it could have been very, very poor because it would have been rushed. And I'm not going to put my name on anything rushed.
Yeah.
So it's all about quality.
How much leeway did they give you? Like when they, like, I know we talked off mic about this before, but when they brought that up, did they have any ideas that you wasn't rocking with, or were you just basically like, look, man, I grew up with these artists. These are the artists that I rock with. I love their music. I have personal relationships. Leave me alone. And was that something that they gave you kind of like carte blanche with?
For the most part, yeah. I mean, I told them, like, here's the parameters. Again, just from my experience in my career, I've gotten to the point to where I can ask for these things. If they say no, then okay, no harm. I'll thanks. We'll part ways, and best of luck to you. But they knew that this project, I think the part that I can appreciate is that they knew that what I could bring, they knew that if they gave me the space, I could bring something pretty, substantial. And so it's kind of like, that comes with time. I
Mhm.
tell that to young artists all the time. Like, oh, how can I get my vision? I said, well, your vision. First of all, don't worry about your vision right now. Your vision is not going to be their vision,
Mhm.
or at least you're not in a place to where you have enough
Mhm.
in your cachet
Mhm.
to for them to respect your request about your vision,
Mhm.
right? And so, I've done enough in my career to where they know that they knew that what I was asking for,
Mhm.
they've seen enough to know that, okay, we trust that.
I think you like subconsciously, like you're becoming the dude that's kind of
The go-to guy.
for hip hop related stuff,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
Because we have the Rock the Bells Festival. LL got you doing
Yeah.
the cover with all the hip hop artists on there.
Yeah.
You're wearing a Wu-Tang shirt. Is that the design you
This is
did?
not mine,
Okay.
unfortunately. I was trying to find the ones that I did, but don't
You can't
have
do it. but
somewhere
you did was it the Wu posters for their tour
tour
recently?
for the final chamber, which I don't believe is the final chamber,
Mm-hmm.
but that's their final chamber tour that just passed
Mm-hmm.
this summer.
And then years ago you did the Method Man
The
comic
comic,
book.
yeah, that was
Yeah.
kind of the jump off point. Yeah, that one was, yeah, that was where it all started. Right around
Okay.
that time.
So like, and then now it's the mass appeal. Like, how do
Yeah.
you feel about having that moniker? Like, if there's like a hip hop artist that needs some graphics work, they're like, nah, Sanford's a dude for that.
A gift and a curse almost.
You don't
Not
want to be,
necessarily a curse.
well, you don't want to be pigeonholed, or is that what you think?
Yeah, well, and it's weird because it's not even a pigeonhole thing. I think if this was early in my career and this
Mm-hmm.
was happening, that might be the case.
Mm-hmm.
But I can kind of break out of this thing
Mm-hmm.
fairly quickly. Now, back then, probably
But
not.
you've done so much stuff, like right, like
Yeah,
so I think that you can kind of focus on the things that the projects you really want to work on,
true.
and not worry about being held to something because you've done so many things. So speaking of which, I think it's interesting because I always think of things from a hip hop perspective, right? And I remember like years and years ago, the conversation with hip hop was always you're either a signed artist or you're an unsigned artist. And a lot of people without a record deal just felt like, they were whack, or they needed to kind of get this validation on the record deal. Then late 90s, early 2000s, the conversation shifted where artists weren't saying they were unsigned. They were like, I'm not unsigned, I'm independent. Right.
Mm.
And there was something about their mentality of being like, we don't need to go through
Right.
these bigger markets and these bigger companies to do the work we want to do. I think about that when I look at like Bitterroot, where it feels like in the midst of the work that you were doing with Marvel and doing all these projects, these big name projects, Bitterroot is this idea that's just a completely original concept, all, like original storyline, original characters. It's blackety black. It takes place during the Harlem Renaissance, and I know you guys are going to move around to certain places, certain
Sure.
eras too.
Yeah.
How did that come about? And for the folks that don't know, tell us about the concept of Bitterroot.
Concept of Bitterroot. Elevator pitch.
Mm-hmm.
A family of monster hunters set during the Harlem Renaissance, and they use steampunk technology and alchemy to fight this infestation of monsters. You, as a reader, will find out why this family has to fight these monsters and why there's an infestation of them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty much the premise. It's kind of like if you guys are familiar with, it's like Ghostbusters, somewhat, a real kind of base level concept of it, but it's way deeper. Honestly, it's about, well, one of the levels of what we were trying to convey is family.
Yeah.
And how family deals with obstacles, tragedy, the endurance of the family unit and the dynamics of it. Like, how do you coexist in a unit that has all these different perspectives? At the same time, you're a family. So there's this togetherness and also this individualism happening.
Yeah.
Those who are trying to stand out within that family, because you got siblings. We all have, some.
Yeah.
Even you got cousins. You got people, got crazy uncles. You got crazy uncles. You got, aunties that, bossy aunties. You got all these dynamics that at the end of the day, when there's any kind of obstacle, that family unit kind of just automatically starts to form, I guess I call it the endurance train.
Yeah.
How do you come together and move forward, whatever that situation may be. So, but again, what that story represents is not only that part, but those struggles and those obstacles. You just think about what we had to deal with in our history,
Yeah.
right? And so you can you can divulge whatever that is.
Yeah.
And that's all of those things that we just use those elements. We use a lot of history. Um, there's this moment in history that a few years before the Harlem Renaissance became thriving. It was called the Red Summer.
Okay.
Tulsa Massacre was kind of like the I don't want to call it it was kind of the beginning stages of them trying to uh wipe away communities. We used that as a backdrop in our story, and how that backdrop started to form the fantastical elements of the story.
Yeah.
It's because we wanted to tell the story. Well, since we're gonna you asked the question,
Let's go.
so all right,
Come on, man.
I'm about to say I know where I live. I know I live in South Carolina.
You
But,
fine, man. You good. I'm not gonna bother you.
Okay. Well, we just don't need the powers that be to see this. If you post this somewhere, next thing you know, can you take that down? It doesn't represent this revisionist history that seems to be happening right now. So, when dude became president the first time, we were in this weird place where we're like, what in the world is going on right now? But then you started to see this emboldened this emboldenment of society and what they were feeling, thinking. Pretty much we knew all along, especially where we come from. But there were so many that were like, I didn't know it was like this. We were like, of course, just look under the rugs and under the couch and then under the bed. There's some horrible stuff underneath that stuff. And we, and I say we, me, David Walker, Chuck Brown, were working at Marvel at the time. And at the same time, we have this crazy stuff happening in our country, this reckoning, if you will. And right at the same time, we have this moment where we're thriving because Black Panther, the little independent film made by,
Ryan Coogler, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
A little Coogler.
He came out with this little independent film and made some money, made a little change off of it.
Yeah.
And we were like, yo, this is like a cultural, again, it's a reckoning. You had this crazy stuff happening over here, and then this empowerment happening over here. And it's like starting to just come together, and it's going to be this reckoning. And we were like, yo, we're at this apex of our society where even my kids, they didn't have struggle, right? Obama is all you guys knew. I'm just saying, you grew up in that, this is great. And so you didn't see what we saw before that, how we got to Obama, right?
Yeah.
So you had all these moving parts, and we are in the middle of this thing. We were working on Luke Cage, me and David, and that became a big thing, right? So you had all this really cool cultural stuff that really emboldened us, and then you had this other thing over here emboldening them.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, what's going to give? And we were like, man, we got to do something or else I'm going to go crazy because I feel like we're in the middle of this thing, especially with where we were at. creatively, because I think one of the powers, whether it be, visual or music, one of the things that we have throughout history is the art really being a beacon,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, you can go back to Sam Cooke and what he was,
Yeah.
right? It's like that song resonates still,
Mm-hmm.
right? We felt like, okay, we might have an opportunity here. And we weren't like, oh man, we're gonna,
Yeah.
it was more of we had to do something. We felt like in our spirit, there has to be something, a story that we can tell.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, we knew that us,
Mm-hmm.
we were ready. We were ready
Yeah.
to see ourselves, to be T'Challa, to be
Yeah.
Storm, to
Yeah.
be, you see what I'm saying? We were
Yeah.
ready for that. And so we were like, okay, guys,
Yeah.
here's an opportunity. So we sat down, came up with the idea about the family. We thought the Harlem Renaissance was awesome because, dude, and I did some research on that stuff too. I was like, okay, has there been anything out there,
Yeah.
books or anything that kind of, that depicts the Harlem Renaissance time period in like a fantastical setting?
Yeah.
Hadn't seen anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to jump on this.
I've always had a theory about this, right?
Yeah.
Like when I talk to people about, like, if you have conversations about white privilege, right? It doesn't have to be an insidious conversation. I say certain stuff like there's a percentage of white privilege that can be attached to nostalgia, right? And I give you an example. I'm a Mad Men fan. I love that show.
Yeah.
To a certain extent. It's a period piece. It takes place in the 1960s on Madison Avenue. The only black people you're going to see in there, they're pushing a button on the elevator, right? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They're a chauffeur, that type of thing, right?
Right.
And so there was something that with entertainment, there is never something where black storytelling could go to those periods, right?
Yeah.
And people kind of ignore it because they think of how turbulent things might have been for us, that they're afraid to write about it. Like, oh, how was it fantastical during the civil rights movement? How's it fantastical with this going on?
Right.
And when you do see those period pieces, kind of on some Toni Morrison tip, it's like when you're writing these period pieces with black stories, it's always about how do we deal with opposition of white folks, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to how can we have a story that's a period piece where it's us having a conversation with each other, right? Like I remember this Toni Morrison quote where she was talking about the book The Invisible Man by Ralph Ellison, and she said this one thing that just struck me. And she's like, invisible to whom? Ralph Ellison's whole book was just like, I feel invisible because white America don't pay me no attention.
Sure.
And Toni Morrison's like, but what about the people that do see you? Right?
Yeah.
Like, what about your family? What about the people you grew up with? What about the people that care about you, right?
Have you seen the Gilded Age?
I haven't seen that yet.
You should watch that.
Okay. Are the black folks in there?
Yes.
Okay, I'll watch.
And they're having conversations with each other.
Okay.
And they're thriving.
Look at Sanford watching the Gilded Age, the HBO Max membership.
You know why I started watching? Well, there's two reasons I started watching it. I had a concept, an idea that we could put in a Bitterroot, and I'm like, you know what? Let me just look at this, make sure I'm not too far off. And I'm like, okay, I think we got something.
Speaking of which, speaking of HBO Max, and then I got an extra question on top of this. Netflix, if this goes through.
That's look, now you got me shifting over here.
Boy, look,
I don't know, man. I don't know.
It's like 80 something. Okay, you got a contract you're dealing with right now.
All I know is this is okay. This is what I could say. Because it's what everyone's saying anyway, is that it's not going to change what we're doing anytime soon. But because there's too many, all this litigation that you got to go through and all that, right? So we're talking the earliest 27 when you might see stuff to come together.
That's a year from now, brother.
Well, it was 20. Well, we ain't 26. I'm counting 26.
Okay,
it's still a year. I mean that's still.
I got you.
I say the end of 27. Sorry. So, yeah, we're talking 2 years. Oh man, go down this rabbit hole.
But listen,
unless this administration gets real crazy, which that's very possible. That's the only part that I get a little weird with, because this thing is unprecedented.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of unprecedented stuff.
Oh yeah, I mean,
because that was what it was.
I'm living in history. What? Because this happened. Microsoft.
That's what Paramount was.
Yeah, the Skydance stuff.
Because they were involved with it. The administration was involved with it.
Yeah. Well, that's where the whole thing of
they wanted really bad.
Well, that's why they was like, he was going in and he was actively, when he's, attacking like Jimmy Kimmel and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That was putting pressure because it's like, hey, y'all want this deal to go through. I think the bigger way that I'm thinking about it is, what happens when, everything kind of gets swallowed up. It's kind of like with the record labels back in the day.
Yeah. Well, that I think that is why I feel like we're definitely in a moment of reflection on what do we value. And because right now, let's be real, they're doing it right now and they're on their phones, right? That right there has more power than any Netflix. I mean, just being real about the viewership on YouTube or whatever, streaming, whatever. Not TikTok. Well, that too. What's the other? Twitch. These things are like Netflix is looking at, or all those companies, they're looking at those metrics, and it's more tech bro-y stuff now.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. So to the average person, they ain't no tech bro. They want to sit down and watch, something cool or something that's inspirational and walk away from it feeling like, wow, that I feel seen, I feel connected, or whatever you want to call it, right? Like those guys that are at the helm of all this stuff now, they see TikTok and Twitch, and they're like, oh, we want to get that audience. They don't care about the story parts of it, but eventually it's going to circle back to where people are like, I'm tired of 30-second, puppy videos. I want to see stories.
I also think about, when we think about, one of the things that I think is really interesting about comic book culture, it's one of those last things that still feels like for an example, we did the Doom book. People go to a store and they buy the book, even though they might be able to look at it digitally. It's one of the last formats where people want the actual thing in their hand, right?
Yeah.
It's one of the last tangible things that I'm seeing in popular culture. What happens with things like, AI, because it's impacting the music industry. You got somebody like Timbaland who's trying to put out a fake musician, right? Like real silly. He don't even have to do that. All these, you can type in a prompt and all of a sudden there's a song that's made. Does that impact you at all? Do you think that people that are looking for comic book related stuff, they know to focus on real human interaction as opposed to going to something fake right now?
I'll even say this, man. I wouldn't even just kind of narrow it to comic book. I'm just saying, just artistic expression in general. You just use Timberland, and so is music. It's our field. It's all the art centric stuff. Like at the end of the day, people want the human experience. You just said they want to go to a store and physically pick up the book. That's why collectibles or that industry is starting to skyrocket. Not starting, it has. These Comic Cons are huge because of that communal experience. People want to be in line anticipating that, one of 100, sign, whatever you want to call it. There's that excitement that comes with that, and that's a form of dopamine, right? Because that's why the digital stuff is huge, right? Because we want that feeling, that excitement. But we got that feeling and excitement even more so with the human connection.
Mm-hmm.
and people are starting to recognize that and value that more.
Yeah.
Again, you got these two uh, entities that will eventually become a reckoning with that. People are going to have to make a decision. Do you want to be living a tech bro life, or do you want to have human interaction?
Yeah. Well, I guess as we close this out, as the bigger part of this, as we tie these things together, I wanted to talk to you when discussing ColaCon, because ColaCon, I started it because of you. And the ideal
Uh-oh, I'm
was
sorry.
no, because I was doing work with the Museum of Art as kind of like someone that was helping them out with events and things like that.
Mm.
And when I pitched this idea of a hip hop comic convention, I'm like, I think I can get a hip hop artist to perform. We can do panels. We can show respect to, one of the things that I thought was a big deal to me was, as a musician, the amount of times that we were told, you got to get out of South Carolina, you got to go to Atlanta, you got to go to New York, you got to go to whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And we ignore the talent pool that's in our community. That was just something where I'm like, Sanford's here. Sanford's doing all this, nationally amazing work and internationally amazing work. And he's here. Like, how do we figure out a way to do something here to kind of amplify it? So, bringing ColaCon back and kind of using this as a way to have a conversation with you, I think it's like a full circle moment because the first ColaCon was 15 years ago, 2011.
Gee.
Yeah. Wow. And this is why I thought it would be kind of cool to kind of get the community to kind of chip in. So I'm wondering, are there any memories that stick out from from any of the ColaCons that you experienced that you think that like, oh, I remember this, and and what you see from with your advice, you see like what a ColaCon can be in the near future in South Carolina?
Honestly, the first one, I think.
Yeah.
Because there wasn't really anything that we could look forward to,
Mm-hmm.
look towards to say, oh, here's an example of how to do something like this. And, but, to your point, there was the understanding that the music and the art really are, it's a nice melding.
Yeah.
And so the cross pollination of it is pretty natural and seamless and organic. And so honestly, that was like the vision. It was easy to see simply because of those elements were so easily connected. And that first one was pretty insane when I think when Talib did Just to Get By.
Yeah.
I think I remember that. And there was hundreds of people in that venue in the gallery, just going crazy.
And Ninth Wonder started DJing for him for that set, which was
that was the same year. I thought it was the year after that.
No. Because
Wow.
Quali was 2011. Because what happened was I didn't. All right, let me backtrack a bit. So I was doing programming at the CMA, and I would do like smaller events, like a conversation series.
Yeah.
And so we showed like a hip hop film, and Ninth did like a talk back. And I got him a key to the city for that, whatever. It was really, really cool. And when we talked about ColaCon, I reached out to Ninth and was like, yo, I really want to bring this young MC named Rhapsody to ColaCon. So I booked Rhapsody, and Ninth came with her. And while they were there, like him and Kweli were talking, because I booked Kweli as a DJ, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I didn't have the budget to book him as a performer, right?
Yeah.
So I booked him as a DJ. But he said to me when we got him from the airport, he was just like, yo, you promoted everything correctly. You booked me as a DJ. But since I haven't been here, I want to do a couple of songs. And I'm like, oh, okay. Right? Like, I ain't got no more money.
I'm about to say, what does that mean?
Yeah.
What does that mean monetarily?
And so Ninth gets on stage and DJs the set for Kweli. And it was the most organic thing that I think I've seen, how everything and everybody in Columbia came together and I got to see something that I really wanted to go to, right? And I really think the first one was probably my favorite one. I think I'm most excited about bringing Ghostface. I think that was like a big
Oh yeah,
hit
that
for
was
me.
huge too.
Yeah, and and how humble Ghost was,
Yeah,
right? Like you get these artist writers and they got all these things on here, and it's just like, I gotta have this Hennessy, I gotta have this and this and this and that.
right.
Ghost, and I'm like, Ghost shows up, I was, hey man, here's your Hennessy, right? He was like, yeah, man, I don't even drink, man. You got some water and like some nuts and some trail mix. And then I see like one of his homies go and grab the Hennessy. I'm like, I bought this for you, right? So, but I have a funny ghost story that I'll tell off camera. But like it was actually like, I'm like, oh, I think Columbia can kind of sustain this, but I think it was one of those things where the vision was a little too far ahead,
Sure.
where I'm like, I shouldn't have to fight, the sponsors to show how important this is. I think now with things like, the Spider-Verse movies and the series that Marvel did with the different covers of the comic books that you did the De La joint, and people see it now, so I don't think there's much of a fight anymore. So yeah, so I think this would be dope,
Well, I mean, and let's be real. I mean, hip hop culture really is culture. It's pop culture.
Absolutely.
And so it's in everything. And sidebar, rest in peace to Ed Piscor. He came one year.
We brought Ed Piscor, who, if we're talking about hip hop and comics, is hip hop family tree.
Yeah.
And
so him being here was definitely like, it was like, okay, here's someone who outside of myself. I mean, and that's the thing. You started to see more and more artists. There's a couple artists I would probably recommend, but they live in Canada, so
but we work it out. We'll take care
get
of
it happen. Mike Del Mundo and Keegan McLeod, and I'm gonna drop the names now, I guess.
Go for it. I mean, I want Jim Mahfood. Is he in the West Coast? Where is he at?
Jim is in Kansas, so
Okay.
we get Jim. Yeah, so it's guys that and girls that really are staples in our industry that really cater to hip hop and urban culture. So yeah, we
get Carl Jones out here. Yeah,
dude.
Yeah.
Carl, well, Carl is from Charlotte.
Oh, really?
He's from Charlotte.
All right. Well, listen.
So there's not a whole lot of.
You're the person. No, you're the plug, because when Sanford reached out to these artists, they'll listen to you. And I have to look back, but we brought some really, really great people from the artist perspective for ColaCon. So any other last words you want to say before I make this last pitch to the camera to get people's money?
No, man. I mean, I think, just again, bringing back ColaCon, I think, now is probably the best time, especially with what's happening in our society. People are wanting, and everything we talked about, people are longing. I think this is another part of that community that people want to be a part of. And some don't know they want to be a part of it until they are, and they're like, oh my God, this is great. You know, truth be told, my kids, they were barely babies at that time. Now they're the generation that is trying to push this thing forward. My oldest son does music, and so this is going to be his first time experiencing something like this on this level. And that's something I wanted to talk to you about too. I think that could be kind of a cool,
I would love
showcase. Have him to be a part of it, because he's doing things. He's, and these guys are all in that generation. They're influenced a lot by what we grew up in. Like, sidebar, my youngest son, who is, what is he, 18? I can't remember.
His kid. Yeah, he just turned 18.
18, and he's in his room, and I hear 93 till infinity.
Souls of Mischief. Yeah.
Or Souls of Mischief in his room. So, it's almost it felt like a meme almost.
Yeah.
I wanted to open the door. I said, no, if I go in there, he's going to be embarrassed, or he's going to get at, hey, what are you doing in here? Listen, I'm like, little tear came down. I was like, oh my God, my son listens to this. I didn't tell him that.
Yeah.
He knew, he found it somewhere. And so again, that generation, they know.
Yeah.
They know what's, authentic and, pure. So, I think it's great to bring the youth and get them really involved with this thing too.
I mean, granted, because I don't want to keep doing this. I want the youth to be here and just like fall back. Y'all got this now, right?
Retire.
Like, yeah. Sanford, thank you for coming, man. Thank you for having this conversation. Thank you for being down to help out with ColaCon. We have some amazing things, and as I look into this main camera, I think when we do posts, I want to have, like, when you're looking at those videos where someone is talking about the beat up puppies and the cats, and you have like the music. So this is my plea to everyone that's out there. I want to say, first and foremost, thank you once again for As Told By for letting us shoot this in the studio today. Thank you guys for helping out. I want to say thank you to the Coker Center for the Arts, because this is where we're going to house ColaCon 2026. They've been an amazing partner. They've been housing Soul House Art Gallery in here. Check out our latest exhibit that's in there right now. That we have some hip hop comic stuff. We have some Sanford Greene's work in there. Dan List works in there. We have some amazing photographs of MF Doom, et cetera, et cetera. On top of that, if anybody has been to ColaCon and remember ColaCon, from all the people that we brought, from Kweli to Ghostface to Fife on Child Called Quest, rest in peace, Dead Prez, Foreign Exchange, the list goes on. It's not just about the hip hop artists, but the hip hop artists are the things that are going to attract the people to see the visual artists that are a part of it. We want to do this GoFundMe, because I think that going to the community, going to the people is something that's really, really important. So give now. If you're looking at this, that means that you know me, you care about me, or you care about something like ColaCon. You guys know my reputation in this community of doing really, really, really fly stuff. And we just want your help, need your help to make the dopest flyest show possible. We have some names on the list of people we want to bring. I can't say anything until we get closer to that, but y'all know who I is. Thank you guys so much. Please, please, please give now. And until next time, this Preach Jacobs podcast special edition episode, my man Sanford Greene, ColaCon conversation / GoFundMe thingy. Talk to y'all soon. Peace.
The preceding podcast is solely owned by the host or hosts and is distributed by Big Media LLC. Copyright 2026.